Hello, I'm Sam.
I'm Carsey.
And I'm Derek.
And this is Unpacking Homelessness, the podcast where we take a deep dive into the issues surrounding homelessness in our communities. Let's get into it.
Today's guest is living proof that our past doesn't have to define our future. Rob Preston is the founder and executive director of Barrier Breakers Foundation, a grassroots volunteer-run organization in Skagit County, Washington that supports unhoused and formerly incarcerated individuals. Rob's journey includes time in juvenile detention, jails, and prison, but it's that lived experience that fuels his passion to break down systemic and societal barriers. At BBF, compassion and connection are at the heart of everything, creating real trust and real change for those who are often left behind. Rob is building a community where no one is excluded because of their past and where self-sufficiency is possible for everyone. Let's dive into a powerful conversation with Rob Preston. Rob, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you.
Okay.
So, as we sort of alluded to in your bio, you've had a bit of a life. You've done the thing. Will you tell us a little bit about how you started and how some of your experiences led to where you are now?
So, do you want to know my beginning of my life of up to now, or do you want to know just how I started Barrier Breakers?
I would love to know the beginning of your life. I think your origin
Well,
story is pretty interesting.
you better step back because the little bit I gave you was not, So, basically, I was born in Seattle and stuff back in a long time ago, '69. I don't feel like it, but it was a long time ago. I grew up with my mother, 17 years old. She was, struggling to make it, kind of help with my grandparents and stuff like that at a young age. Then we moved to good old Tacoma, like when I was 2 or 3. And we grew up, we had a big house up there because she met my dad. I'm not my dad. My dad finally got enough with the military because he was 2nd Airborne out of Fort Lewis. And we ended up at Hilltop, 8th and Sheridan, big old white house in a predominantly black neighborhood. And we were, it was a challenge at first, but when everybody got to know, us and who we were, me and my brothers and family, it was a good little environment to grow up in, believe it or not. It was kind of rough, and when I hit my teenage years, it was the crack cocaine era, like you guys have seen on like Boys in the Hood. That type of stuff happened, the drive-by shootings, the killings, the real violent gang warfare on the streets. I ended up running around and, with the wrong people, started going in and out of juvenile center, mainly the follower at the time. So I was always, if you're the slow man, you get caught. So it was like, so, a lot of the time I was just there, as an observer, but, the observers, when they, stuff's going on, you get as much trouble. So it ended up doing like that. And then I graduated in when I was adult. I figured, well, I can make money here doing, selling drugs and all this stuff, get pulled into that. And I started doing all that and getting in all kinds of other trouble and didn't really care. And the money came quick and it went quick. And, pretty soon I started doing longer stints in jail and ended up going to state prison. And then in 1999, I got swapped by the U.S. government for having guns. And that was kind of an eye opener there. I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of crazy. It's kind of weird when you're sitting there and you see the United States of America versus you. It's like, wow. And anyways, from there, I kind of got out and was on an all right road for a minute. And then I got back into a drug addiction, which I hadn't been in before. I had been the drug dealer. And so they always tell you don't get high on your own supply. So I waited till I'm 40-something years old. Let's go ahead and get on drugs again. That was kind of great. And so we turned around and I went and did a little bit of stint and back in the state penitentiary. Walla Walla. And I decided there, you know what, man, I've been taken from society for so long, I need to start giving back. And I said, I want to be known for what I've done in the end of my life, not worried about what I can't change from the past. And then, you know, the person that I am, I really don't care on judgment. That's why I advocate for people, because I don't go in there trying to make friends. I try to go in there, you know, to make them connected where they can get the help and, you know, navigate for them the help they need and stuff. And so it kind of, people get to know me around here. And so they kind of just, they go, oh, that's just him. So if you get to know me, you know, I ain't attacking you or nothing like that. It's just, I got to be stern, and I can't go with the Mother Teresa thing, because that's just, you give these people behind me that I'm supposed to advocate for. Well, anyways, I went to college. I got out. It had been my second stint in college, and I went in. I actually met a guy that had been work source over here in Mount Vernon, Washington. He said, "Hey, Rob, can you go with me to Spokane Valley College and stuff like that?" Because I had just gotten out of incarceration, and I said, "Okay." Sure. I said, why? I was doing practicum there at first. And so his name was Brent Bailey. And we went went to Spokane, went there, and I was like, yeah, because my brother had lived over there. I wanted to go see him. I hadn't seen him all these years. Free ride, free hotel, a couple of days, you know. All of a sudden, day two, I get there, and I find out it's all police officers, probation officers, and attorneys, and all this other stuff at this conference. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? So I go in there, and then that's not even it. The bombshell was, hey, I got something for you. I put you on a panel. I said, what the hell do you mean you put me on a panel? And I went in there, and I'm going to let you know, this auditorium had like 3,500 people in it. Right.
Oh my God.
Now, I'm not scared you can probably tell, I'm not scared to speak in front of people, but it had been, you know, not fresh within me at the
and
time.
Unexpected. It was pretty.
Oh, it was super unexpected.
Surprising.
And they didn't give you questions or none of that. It was kind of like, we're going to just talk to you about what made you want to change and all this stuff. And I'm getting drilled by the, you know, audience members for all these people of law enforcement or the criminal justice system. Right.
So it was all Q&A style?
Oh my, yeah. Hand a mic like the Phil Donahue show or something, you know. Hey,
yeah,
you know, sitting here running around and question, you know, for audience members. Well, it didn't look so big from the back. When you get up in the front and you look out, it's a little bit bigger, you know. Sure. So that was my first thing. I told them. I said, "Wow," I said, it didn't look so big from the back there, and they were laughing because it was. But yeah, that went real well, and I ended up coming back. And when I finished my practicum, I went in and I was a reentry specialist. I got hired as a reentry specialist, my first major job, and I had cleared background. I was tripping because it was the state of Washington, you know, and I had my own cubicle, and I'm like, wow, look what I've done so far. I said, well, I started meeting with people that was getting out of jails and prisons and stuff like that, and helping them get jobs and, you know, and housing and, you know, all kinds of clothes, whatever. And I was a relicensing specialist, which was really big because your chance of getting a job, at least in this state right here, increases by 60% if you have a license. So that's big. That's real big.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in fact, there's a place where I'm up here that was called Mr. T's, and they were hiring for I remember the guy, they were hiring for a line cook, right? And they required a driver's license, and I was like, what do you need a driver's license for to go, you know, cook breakfast, right? And so I was intrigued, and I call him up and I say, hey, you know, this is Rob Preston, I was trying to, not Work Source.
Yeah.
Yeah, so used to saying that I was trying to figure out for my person that I was helping at the time why he needed a driver's license. Well, they said, well, we're a small or small restaurant, mom and pop restaurant, and that we have our cooks actually go pick up all our food, you know, daily or weekly. And so they need to drive the company thing. I said, oh, okay, now that explains that, because otherwise it's baffling, you know, why I need a driver's license to do that. So that opened my mind to like, oh, I'm gonna have to start getting these people driver's licenses, and that's what I jumped forward and got to be a relicensing specialist, and I did my homework, and I hooked up at the time that I worked there about 340 people with driver's licenses. And so, and I was also at the club. There was a breaking free club over at the college at the time. They were helping people reintegrate into like colleges from jails and prisons, so they didn't feel all say hey, everybody's looking at me or you know that kind of aura that they get. Because believe it or not, the most reliable person for a job is somebody who's previously incarcerated. Because if the normal person that goes and gets a job takes it for granted because they can get another one, it's easy. Mm-hmm. But you have to really fight when you're previously incarcerated to get that job, and you want to damn near keep that. So you're gonna be there. You're gonna be that overtime and stuff. And I had to indent that into future employers' heads. And all of a sudden, it was like, and where I'm at now, if they say Rob Preston sent me, to get a job, that's all they have to say, because I pre-screen everybody, because I'm not going to send nobody that they have to retrain somebody else next week for the job.
So how did you get that off the ground, Rob, when it comes to connecting formerly incarcerated people to jobs? Were you networking with businesses knowing that they would be open to this, or how did you get that off the ground?
Well, that's part of it started when I was at WorkSource itself, because that was part of the problem of getting people when they were getting out. They were like, you expect people, hey, let's go put them in and get this time, get out, and just all of a sudden it's going to be a miracle and they're going to have a place to live and all this other stuff when they have all these, challenges, because no one wants to give them a chance. Well, you might as well just keep them in forever then and don't let no one out.
Right.
Because you can't accept somebody getting out and then say, oh, he had a criminal history, so we can't give him a job. He can't go live nowhere.
Right. If there's no opportunity or no way forward, what's the point?
I understand. Well, I understand some of the issues. You got RSOs and stuff like that. You got to be really careful with when
what are RSOs?
Registered sex offenders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it could be, but I don't. I used to be prejudicial, being where I had been against the people like that, but then I had to look beyond that, and that was hard for me personally to do that. That was a super challenge, especially being somewhere in there, because even though I was getting in trouble, in people when they go into jails and prisons that are not in that type of category, they protect the women and children, period. So that's just a thing that's it's a bond that we all got like that. So it's just that was a challenge to get over that, saying, hey, I still have to help these people. If they're accepting them to get out, then I have to, and I get and I get hit with that all the time. But if they're getting out, they have to have a fresh slate to try to get this right.
So were you working with the prison system? You knew when people were going to get out, and so you're kind of trying to coordinate how that reacclimation into society is looking? Yeah.
So what I did was me being previously incarcerated, I knew people in there who to contact, and I turned around myself and started contacting them like, whoa, are you really doing that? And then the words started getting out, and it started getting bigger, and the DLC talks among each other, and it had got so crazy at one time that right before COVID, they wanted me to do a DOC, and it was a big paying job. It paid like $110,000 a year, and and part of the criteria was you had to have been previously incarcerated, and they wanted me to go work for them, and it was kind of a lot. It was kind of much at the time because I didn't want to relocate and do everything else that I was going. I was finishing my schooling and everything else. So I say, I'm honored, but I'll pass. But that's when I knew that I had actually, gotten out of the swamp because I had made an impact with actually the people that were putting me in, of course I was putting myself in, but the people that were controlling me while I was there. So,
and you mentioned, sorry, can I go back just a little bit before you move on? Because this is so interesting. So it sounds to me like what you were saying is you kind of like screen people to see if they really are committed to reintegrating. They really are committed to moving forward and investing their time and energy and putting their life back together, right? So like
Absolutely.
I'm so
Absolutely.
curious, and that's probably something you still do, I imagine, with what you're doing now. So like what are some of the questions that you ask people? How do you gauge if somebody really is ready to change and they're not just saying it?
Well, first question is, why are you here other than you want a job? Why do you want a job? Basic, simple question. Why do you want a job?
Mm-hmm.
How you can keep that job? And they'll give me, because I'm pretty forward. And I'll say, look, man, I'm not going to send you nowhere and for a job and stuff like that. Like I told you earlier, to retrain. I just don't believe that's a pathway of success. And see, if ever read anything on my page and stuff like that, my big thing is creating self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is my big thing, man. And I believe, if I can, anybody can with the right tools. So, because believe me, I was never. I could. You'd have been back 15 years from now and say, "Oh, you're going to be in there doing human services and help people on Zoom." Yeah, right. I would have been. Hey.
Well,
So
this might
how do
be a
you
good time to introduce your organization. So you're talking about WorkSource, and so your organization is called Barrier Breakers. I'd like to read from your website just to introduce people and then have you elaborate. Barrier Breakers was established to create a life of self-sufficiency in both our previously incarcerated and unsheltered neighbors. We want to eliminate prejudicial barriers that have contributed to their past and current situation by showing them the necessary tools and education to be successful, along with a positive pathway. We hope to eliminate their past barriers and help them live a positive, self-sufficient life ahead. So yeah, I mean, everything you've been talking about, it sounds like you had a very clean transition from WorkSource into Barrier Breakers. But when did you make that transition? And tell us more about Barrier Breakers.
Well, the transition was real easy because they had a thing called COVID that happened in 2020.
Sorry, what COVID? How do you spell that?
So yeah, so they had the thing called COVID happen, and that my grant, they discontinued everybody that was in the field at the time's grant, and they closed down on March 31st, 2020. WorkSource. So I had packed up my nice cubicle area that I had for them years, and I was like, man, what the hell am I gonna do now?
How long were you at WorkSource for?
I was there for almost 3 years. So
Oh, yeah, so you had your feet wet.
oh yeah, everybody knew me. I had my own car. Yeah, it was a big thing happening because I had the first time in my life I had people set up for appointments, one after another, and I was like, wow, I'm starting to be somebody, I think. So,
Yeah.
Make a difference for sure.
yeah, and it felt so uncomfortable. It felt right. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So that's what that's what thrive me. It made me thrive to say, hey, I'm gonna be more than that guy.
Can we dig into the grassroots part of your organization? Because that's really interesting. So your organization is not funded by the government.
No, I have a problem with that. The problem is if you get funded by any government, then you can't really help nobody. You can pay somebody to work for you, but then you can't help assist anybody because there's too many rules and regulations. And so I made it. Fundraising all private donors, and they trust in what I do. And I've got myself, like I said, everybody knows me now around here, so they know that I'm going to get something done. I'm also the only night and weekend outreach provider in this county. So when people call me on the phone, I've told you before, they'll go, "Oh, I was expecting to leave a message." I said, I can hang up and I won't answer back, and you can leave a message if you'd like. They no, 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 no. I need to, do this, and this, and and if I can't help them, I do know somebody who can. We'll get into that in a little bit, but the different programs that I offer, it's been a challenge to keep up with them and with I offer the Lifeline phone service. I'm the only nonprofit in this county or in the adjoining 4 counties that offer the Lifeline phone service. It's not a phone company. So, that's been a challenge.
Can you tell us about what that program is?
So anybody, if they're, on SNAP or Medicaid or low income Section 8 or any of that type of stuff, are eligible to get either a SIM card or a phone. Right now, with the current administration, it's been really hard to keep the phones unless you have a identification card that shows a tribal address, at which time I can offer a phone for that. Otherwise, I have a phone service SIM card. Something new that you guys, I just recently is, you can't see this, and I should have sent you a copy. But what it is a, I'm trying to, I put a thing right now to people, they can donate used phones to me and see, because I have the service. Everybody's got a phone sitting in a drawer or something, and they ain't never going to use it. I take them and I wipe all the phones, and then I can give the SIM card service and get somebody at least can still get a phone who they're not on.
That's awesome.
And so much more sustainable. I mean, it's such a great way for people to give back using something. You're right. We've got 2 in our drawer right now. I'm going to send them to you after this.
Exactly. That's what I tell everybody, get this out and put it out there and send me the phones, because they're going to be used, and I'll make sure they're wiped. I know you thought you wiped them in a factory set, but there's still a way that you still have to do that. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't send out that.
That's so cool.
Rob, I'm curious. How did you meet our mom? Our mom works at the public defender's, the Snohomish County Public Defender's office.
I've known your mom for over 10 years now. No, your mom's awesome, man. She's one of the most non-judgmental people that I've met over, the last 20 years. I know an old lady never has, but your mom is so forgiving with that. I totally trusted everything that I could throw at her, and she absorbed it and gave me positive, affirmations all the time. Hey, I believe that you're gonna do this, this, and this. I said, oh, you're just saying that because I'm in the mind where I want to change now. But then after, I got out and stuff, and I was in club, and I used to visit her at the over there at the public defender's office and stuff. And then my old attorney, Donald Wackerman, he was like, he was out there, old Donald, and then they're good friends. And I used to go out there, and I was doing some fundraiser stuff, I guess, right there by the jail, Carnegie Hall area there. He says, hell, you're doing great. And I said, yeah, we're doing great. And then I got in contact with your mother. I think I did one of my first fundraisers, help with her. Gave her some posters, and she helped do some fundraiser stuff. And your mom's donated to my cause over the years.
I kind of want to dig into that just a little bit. Like, we've talked a little bit about believing in people. And it sounds to me like one of the things you're saying is that, our mom, the angel that she is, she knew that letting you know that she believed in you and encouraging you was a way to help you believe in yourself and to, have someone that you're kind of accountable to in a way.
Right. Yeah, well, that's the same thing with, like, when I'm dealing with, people who I'm dealing with out here. I try to encourage. I am abrasive at times because some people need that. And I can read who does and who doesn't. Sometimes they don't like to hear it. I say, hey, I know you don't like to hear this, but you know what? I'm going to be straightforward. Like, I'll tell you, so getting to housing, okay? So we have a thing that's called 211 coordinated entry here. It's run by the Volunteers of America. So you have to go through them and be honest, true story. So you have to be on them and be in their system, which is called HMIS, HIMS. To be able to get into, it's where all the agencies can look on and we can see, what necessities and needs a person needs, and they're on a big point system. They've had mental health, drug addiction, incarceration, the list goes on and on and on. And anyways, the you have to go through and be on that to get any help. Well, anyways, so a lot of times I have to sit down and tell if you're, and I'm brutally honest, we also one of the only counties that do not have a mission. Okay, the Homeless has got it on our south. Whatcom on Bellingham on our right's got one. Even Little Island County, to the west has got on Woodby Island out there has a mission. Skagit County does not have that. And that's troublesome. We have a place called First Steps Tiny Homes, and they hold they got like 45 cabins or something like that. I might be wrong in the numbers, 40 something, low in the 40s, and it's a 90-day program, and it's a good concept, but they have to have something beyond that, because what happens is somebody goes in there and they just recirculate bodies, because they'll go in there, sit there for 90 days and throw them back on the street. Mm-hmm. So, and they don't have, I mean, they're trying, and I love the people that work there, but it's who's beyond them, who needs to control this and make it more of that. Have put more case management in there, more kind of guidance for housing, because the biggest problem is the housing. And they have another thing called Martha's Place, where they give you apartments in Mount Vernon, and they're probably going to be all over me for this, but I'm pretty brutally honest with this. They put people that have been on the streets with no type of growth in themselves or nothing, and haven't been shown even know how to, the little things like how to cook. That don't really consist of that. And you expect you're going to throw them in there and they're going to cook, clean, and do, everything they're supposed to do in their household. No, man, you have to show these people this, to be self-sufficient, because the schooling I learned was the same class with a different name, header. And the only one that really resonated with me in college, and it helps me with people and stuff like that, was motivational interview. And if you've never taken that, or if you have, you'll know that you're not supposed to use it. They say and you're supposed to swear an oath not to use it on your family members. Yeah.
Okay, what is that? What is motivational interviewing?
So motivational interviewing and stuff like that, you actually are going to have a person tell you, instead of you ask them the right questions without being interviewed. You want to switch it to where they are asking the questions, so they realize in their mind their pathway. Because when you realize that your pathway, instead of me telling you what you should do, because everybody's different, my pathway ain't your pathway. Does that make sense?
Well, it totally makes sense. It's like you can't convince someone. Like, it's like almost like when you're trying to convince someone that like something was their idea, right? Yeah. So that, like, there's buy-in, right? If I want my kids to, clean their room, I may not go in there and say clean your room. I might say like, wow, it's so nice when your guys' room is clean and we can find all your things. Like, I don't know, what should we do about that, right? And they're like, oh, we should clean our room. So is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, you kind of, yes, but it's their idea, but you lead them to their idea.
Right.
See, and that's the most successful way to help correct people's negative pathway in their life and have them, boom, that light bulb pop on, and it's a good thing. Motivational interviewing, you can use that as a skill when you're going and doing a job interview. Then what you're doing is what I always tell them, hey, look on their website and look at their mission statement real quick and see what they do. Then go in there and flip the interview and you ask them the questions instead of them ask you. You understand what I mean? That's how you get jobs, because and you do your homework, because you tell them about their company, their organization.
So do you feel like you use this now with people that you're trying to help point in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, I do. And I you have to play devil advocate on this. Sometimes I have to veer off that. And I was telling you a minute ago, and I have to be stern and say, like I was explaining, in this county, we don't have all them resources for housing. Mm-hmm. So if you're a single male on the street, unless you get off, quote, the couch, which a lot of them don't have a couch, but I said out of the tent, the ground, whatever, and fight a little bit for you, you ain't getting nowhere, man. No one's going to just, there's not going to be this magical fairy dust and all of a sudden, boom, you're in a house. Here's where you need to go. You need to put your foot in here. I don't care if they reject you 1,000 times. You keep doing this because you keep your name and face in there, because eventually they're going to get, some of them are just going to give you a place or something because they're tired of seeing you. But they also know that you're dedicated and motivated to get into somewhere, and then that's the people for success. With the Martha's Place and stuff like that, they have a good concept. The only problem is you're plucking people that have been on the streets for many years without like going like the first steps. That need to be mandatory. You go there, learn something, some kind of skills, because they have to have them keep their cabins clean and all this other thing. And maybe they need to have some kind of thing where you can have, you have to volunteer at like a culinary arts or something so you can learn how to cook and clean or something for yourself. Mm-hmm. Anything. I haven't sat down and thought about it, but then put them in there, because what you're doing is you're pulling them out of a drug addiction and throwing them right into this, like a palace. But then they still have this mindset, and that's why it's not so successful. They're always kicking people out of there. Because they're doing drugs in their room. They go in and check. They do swabs on the walls and see if they've been doing fentanyl. And
one of the things that's occurring to me as you're talking is like, by giving them these little very practical skills, like you mentioned, making dinner, right? Like there's something so powerful in just feeling like it's not impossible. I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in their situation. I would feel like I'd had imposter syndrome if I was plucked off the street in this whole different life, and then all of a sudden I'm supposed to be quote unquote normal and know how to do all the things that I don't know how to do, right? I would feel like a total imposter. So the most comfortable thing for that person, I would think, in that position is then to go back to the streets, because that's where I feel like I fit in. So by you saying we need to teach them these very practical skills that, we might take for granted, it's actually building up their self-worth and their feeling that they belong in this other type of life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the important thing. The important thing is you got to see productive, positive change in yourself to keep going. Otherwise, it's the same old, same old.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to preach, to people out there, and people's misconception is everybody's on drugs and alcohol, or so the ones that were, not all of them started off like that. You know what I mean? If you sit in a bar long enough, I bet you'll have a drink. You know what I mean?
So that's a great metaphor.
Yeah. So if you went every day and just hung out at the bar, eventually you'll just try a sip, maybe.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it could be, we've sort of posited that theory before. Like, is it that people go into being unhoused because they have a drug addiction? Or is it that once they're even in that environment, it's sort of a given that they're eventually going to get into it? I mean, for no other reason than to cope, but also that it's available.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it happens like that. People, man, a lot of people's like one paycheck from being out there. People don't even know. And one educational thing that I can remember, there was a lady, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's pretty important in the community and stuff like that. She had she used to talk down about, why are you helping these people? I mean, blah, 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 and then, whoa. One day she had to call me, and I was, I need your help. I said, oh, no, I can't help you because I can't do this for them people. She goes, well, it hit home. Her daughter fell to drug addiction and was somewhere on the streets and needed somebody to find her. I said, well, hell, 6 months ago, I was the devil for helping these people.
Yeah, and I bet that really changed her mind on what you're doing. And
hey, actually, she's one of my reoccurring donors now. So it's really funny that it happened like that. And she still texts me every once in a while because her daughter will still sometimes go out. She comes back and then she leaves, and I have to, and I see her, and so she's an adult, so I really can't say hey, because she'll say, can you go and get her from here and make her go do that. I says, she's 30 something years old. I can't make her do nothing. Neither can you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand your mind think that that's a little girl still, but it's just not. So you have to take it, go at it in a different direction. And, that's challenging sometimes because I think it's a waste of money to put somebody into treatment if they have no housing afterwards. Now they have some places up here, organizations, there's one up, I can't remember right off because I just had got hit with it not too long ago. But up there they have you can go up there and when you get out they have houses already ready, and they're building houses after houses for specific people like that meet these needs. And then what happens is you actually have to go to work and pay a rent there, but then after you've committed their final intensive outpatient program, which is like a year, you can live there as long as you want. You know what I mean? And it's cheap. You got your own apartment and everything else. So, I mean, it's got like a common area, but they got outside. Each one's got their own outside door.
It sounds like you're a proponent of the housing first model.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, otherwise, I think everything else you're just wasting money. You're wasting millions and millions of dollars on treatment if it's just a revolving door.
It's very much the housing first model is dependent on having supportive services. So there's tons of data that it isn't effective on its own. But when supportive services are offered and people's main needs are met, they have the bandwidth and the space to deal with their other issues.
Like that Martha's Place, like that, they need to take the model of, and I'll have to give something later to you guys the name of it. They have to really get that. I think that if people are coming out of treatment, they should go into Martha's Place, after they've been through that or something, get some kind of, and see what kind of skills. You should have a check sheet of what skills do you know and what would you like to learn, and check that and get that data in there because no one does that.
Would you say that for both temporary housing and permanent housing, there's enough options out there for people? And what does that transition look like when you're about to hit that 90-day period or whenever you're done with temporary housing? What does that transition look like of who are they checking in with? How are they connecting with that long-term housing?
So I can only speak for this county and stuff, and this county does not because it's void. And with, like I said, they have First Steps. They have the Friendship House, which is ran by that's affiliate of First Steps. A Friendship House. First Steps is affiliate of Friendship House, so they're basically Friendship House, but they call themselves Friendship House is Mount Vernon, connected to Burlington. Across the bridge in Burlington, they have the First Steps tiny homes.
And that's temporary housing.
That's temporary 90-day housing, correct. So is the Friendship House. That's a more longer term. I can't remember the thing. And then you got Martha's Place. Then you have, if you have family orientated stuff, you have Anacortes Family Shelter, which they have a wonderful program because they have a program where you get into shelter, and then if you can get into, they have apartment complexes like across the street area, and if you can get in there, it's a 2-year program. What they do is they take, I think, 30% of your money and you have to work, and then after that 2-year period, you get that money back, and then you can. I was telling you about that. So then you have enough to be affordable to get into somewhere because you have enough funding. So that's a great little program.
I love that. I think that's amazing. And yeah, that's kind of in line with what we've heard, the third of the rent. But I've never heard the idea or the thing that they get their money back at the end of that. So
right.
So who pays for the actual, like the rent or the lease or whatever?
Well, they pay for that. I mean, but I'm sure they got grants and stuff. I don't know. They'd have to speak for all that, but I'm sure that they have some kind of granting, and they have a lot of public support because it's families.
And
families.
What a motivation. Like if I know I'm staying at this housing for 2 years and I'm paying sort of myself back if I meet this goal, and then I get out and you get this sort of payday, really. I mean, and you get to, at that point, you've done this for long enough that those habits have been ingrained and you really have, made better choices after 2 years. You're probably not going to go back to the way you were.
Yeah,
right?
More likely not. Now, and they have and the last other thing is they have another family. It's called Family Promise in Cedar Woolley, and they're a family-based organization too. They have a shelter, and then they have different housing facilities that they house, and they just got approved, and I don't know the number, but they just got approved for a big number for they can build some more housing. But that again, that's all family based. So the biggest challenge is getting somebody who's single, a single male or female into somewhere, and you always got somebody. I don't try to talk somebody out of their where they're at. So if there's somebody who wants to live in a tent, I let them live in a tent. Okay, you don't talk nobody out of that. I always tell them, I'll sit down and I don't like to sit face to face with somebody. I like to turn with them and look what they're looking at and let focus on. I says, when you're ready to give up this lovely empire right here, and want to have some change, real self changing yourself, you get a hold of me and I'll help you and I'll support you and advocate for you to get through this. But that's only when you're ready. I am not going to talk nobody out. If they're going to sit there and do drugs or do that thing, I don't say, oh, you can't do that and stuff like that. I always tell them, do as much as you want.
As you say that, it's like you think about, we've talked to so many different types of people, and it's like almost like it sounds to me like you don't assume to know what's best for them. You don't assume to know that you can make a decision on their behalf.
That's the wrong way to go about it. That's what they tell counselors and all this, caseworkers and all this, and they try to create the cure. The cure is in the person, plain and simple. The cure is in the person.
Do you think there's a lot of money that's wasted on trying to help people that aren't ready, whereas maybe that money could be, I feel like the answer is yes by your maniacal laugh, but
that sounds like the right question, Cars.
Cars should be doing some stand-up. Yeah, yes, the answer to that is absolutely. Just like I said, I think they're spending millions of dollars on treatment for people who aren't ready, or just because a lot of people go because the court told me or my mom told me if I ain't getting this, I'm not getting $20. You know what I mean? Whatever the ordeal is. I think that's a waste of money and time for people to go in and try to get them because they're not ready to take on them skills. They are not ready to take on the tools needed to create that change because there's nothing afterwards. Okay? I mean, you wash that car and immediately go down that dirt road. Man, that sucks, huh? And so, but I think a lot of times that people are given false hope for the wrong reasons. And I think they're given false hope to push them along so they can get that person out of their face and then such. So that's a problem. There's an organization that I work with that I really love. It's Helping Hands in Cedar Woolley. It's Helping Hands Food Bank and the Solution Center there. And Miranda, Katie, Janelle, Lisa, and Veronica in that place are awesome. They're a little bit more softer than me. Get that? Like I said, I can be abrasive like that but you guys got to understand, I go out in a community and stuff where in encampments, and I don't take a bunch of people and stuff. I go there by myself. Sometimes I walk into someplace and I don't know what I'm walking into. And, the ODs, the people have to revive, and the deaths, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. And it's quite challenging. With my past life, I've had a really crazy, childhood and teenage years and adult years. I had real violent stuff like this. I had some injuries with weapons to my body from others, when I was younger. And a lot of my friends I grew up with they're in Mountain View Cemetery for, reasons I can name 20 or 30 of them. Okay, we used to have big groups growing up like that, and a lot of them, small, unjust deaths at young ages. Some were, accidents and stuff like that, and so forth. House fires, but there was still, a lot of, 16 years old. I'll tell you something that'll probably shock your audience. And I think I told you guys, I don't remember. I'm old. I got dementia. I had a traumatic event, and we were talking about that when I was 16 years old, where somebody, did a suicide thing, and some of them came on me. Their brain matter came on me, and people were like, "Oh my God, how would you be stuck in that?" And the police brutality thing. I know you probably talked to your mom. I don't know about the police brutality stuff that happened to me. I haven't sent you pictures, have I?
I don't think so.
I should
I feel
probably
like I'd
put you guys
remember this.
probably put you guys in shock. I'm going to do that. I'll do that today.
Oh, great. Thank you. Please. Yeah.
When was that? Around what time did that happen?
That happened in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, they got me up pretty big, and I won a big substantial chunk of money from them.
That's terrifying.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, well,
and
I'll send you guys a picture so you'll be like, oh my God.
and now do you work now with law enforcement in tandem? Like, how does your? I mean, I'm drawn associations
They
here in my
actually
head.
call me now because it's more cost affordable for them to. So they'll call me sometimes. Will I come and move a car for somebody instead of impounding it and taking them to jail and setting them a ticket because they're not going to come to court? It's going to cost the court money. They're going to get warrants, and it's a revolving door. It's just easier to move the car and and get them out of the driver's seat. Oh, your cat, lovely.
I know.
Oh, two of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so cute.
The cat lady, the Alcatraz. So, the for you people who can't see, there's cats everywhere.
Cats everywhere.
Cats
I like
everywhere.
it.
It's interesting. You mentioned that Skagit County doesn't have a mission.
No.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, without getting politically correct, we'll say that they decided they wanted to spend all this money on this new jail that they don't fill, by the way. And then the old jail that's in this, downtown area, non-residential, right next to the bus stop with the sheriff's department down below where they could just take the doors off and have showers and housing and everywhere and places to feed them and all that right there. Oh, we're going to use that as archive filing building. Just leave whatever crap that they're never going to use again, and we'll just store it. So there you go. So,
Did you choose Skagit, or did Skagit choose you?
I love that.
Coincidentally, I wanted to create that change, so I knew if I went back to Tacoma, and also I have 4 grandkids and a daughter that live here in this county. So at least I came and I wanted to help and see with them. And I actually was really weird is probably within a year of me being out, I ended up one of my daughters had a mishap with things, and I ended up with 2 of my grandkids right off, which was for a couple years. So that was quite the challenge. So I was juggling, like a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Just out of incarceration after a year. And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to the Oxford housing because that's was a great stepping stone for me. I got out of there and had a couch like position thing and earned my way into a room. The bad thing that I can say about it is they let people stay there too long because I think it's a pathway to get out of homelessness and stuff like that and into your own spot. And a lot of them stay there for years and years and years because it's cheap rent and not allowing the others to come in. Somebody was telling me one guy down the house is close to where I'm at now. Somebody had been there for like 8 or 9 years. That's ridiculous. If you haven't created a positive change in yourself to be able to step out on your own in 8 or 9 years, they'll call me and say, "Hey man, what can you do for me?" I said, "It ain't what I can do for you. It's what you can do for yourself. But what's your necessity right now?" And they'll try to give me this laundry list, and I'll say, I says, "You pick 2 top ones, and then spread your hustle to these other agencies and stuff like that, because I'm not going to fix all of you for you. You have to do that for yourself." That creates the thrive to get them to do for them. because if they don't do for them, they're never going to do at all. Okay. You can give them everything and just set it there. I'm not going to be an Uber Eats. You ain't just going to all of a sudden get an order and I'm just going to deliver all the time like that. No, if you want that, you meet me here at this time and this is what I'll bring you. What do you need? Well, they'll give me that. Then I'll go to my storage and I'll get what I can, to help them, if they need tent, clothing, sleep bag, whatever they need, bus passes. I got a wonderful bus pass program where people can get around and so forth, which the Skagit Transit is letting me. That's the only one grant that I do have, but it's just bus passes. So,
right.
like,
Rob, let me ask, what's the future of Barrier Breakers? Like, what do you see this organization growing into?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be huge because the little organization that I am makes a bigger impact than the ones that have 120 of them in it. And I'm not going to say their name, but they know who they are. That you spend all these millions of dollars just employing people, and then there's all this little money that you got to help all these people with. But here's this big chunk of money. Let's put them into here. They say, oh, well, we need the people to do this. You don't need the amount of, you just create positions to ask for funding, man. I don't do all that. I would like to one day, employ a couple people like that so I can have a little bit of burden lifting off my shoulder. But University of Seattle recognized me here recently and stuff. I had a practicum student out there and I was like, oh crap. They even give them an award for that. When my practicum student, Lauren Christian, an award for that, gave her out all her class, and she was in her master's degree for a nonprofit master's degree she graduated from in my little organization. She was wonderful. Helped align a bunch of my stuff on paper for me, my ideas. So it was wonderful having that, and people are reaching out, and I have a lot of volunteers. Oh, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? It's hard because a lot of them, and it's weird in this field, a lot of them, like 90 percentile are women. So it's harder to send them out. I'm not going to send, women out into an encampment, by themselves, and that could be all bad.
So it's a good sort of call to action to people that maybe are men in particular that are looking to give
well,
back.
Yeah, but it's, it's same with this field and child daycare. They don't have men because they think every man's in a van. That's not crap. I mean, so you need some father figure in some of them preschools and stuff like that, man, because that creates a balance. Okay, that makes your kids stronger. So with that being said, reaching out there to all your people doing daycare, hire some men. Not all men are, in a van. So it's just, like I said, my main 5 programs and stuff like that is I have a street outreach program. I have the Lifeline phone service program. I help with housing, coordinate with 211 VOA and stuff like that for housing. I do transportation. I give bus passes out for people, and I drive people from to detox. A lot of the VA vets and so forth I help. A lot of the seniors and stuff like that can't get around. They'll call me up, or I'll get somebody who's combative. They really don't want to mess with it, and then they'll call me, and I can de-escalate with that. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah,
and I'll say, because I'll get in, like I said, you got to look from the side of them. You got to look in their eyes, and they'll say, "Oh, these people," and I go, "I know, man. These people are crazy, man. Let's get the hell out of here, man."
Yeah, you relate to them.
Well, it's not different as I relate. I relate to the situation of, how I used to think.
Yeah.
And they're thinking the same thing. I'll say, yeah, I'll sit with them. Yeah, man, forget them, man. Let's get up out of here, man. And then, you're not the villain,
Yeah. So Rob, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing, and if they want to donate to your cause?
They can go on to the website. I'm sure you guys will put that up there. You can go for WWF.
Go check out some wrestling. That's how he got real good at de-escalation, to be clear.
Yeah, you can go on Barrier Breaker Foundation .com. It's BBF Barrier Breaker Foundation.com. But if you hit in the search engine in Google, you'll pop up and look for barrier breakers, and you'll see the little. I think my ugly mug shows up there, and there's a little thing with a blanket and some other stuff because I used to. I took a picture of that blanket purposely because it was people. They used not giving out fleece because my big thing is don't give out fleece blankets. Because what it ends up as soon as it rains, they're 5 pounds of trash. And so my big thing is if you're going to do it, you're going to do wool blankets because they stay warm, wet, or cold, and they don't get any heavier. So I want to be able to help those that want the help, break down the stigma that the people get for these people, and instead of people a big point of this, instead of assuming, ask. Quit assuming people just because I can give you NBA players that had millions of dollars that are on the street right now homeless. And I'm not going to blast somebody's name, but you just Google some and you'll see. And I know they were really, in my era, were really high paid pro players. And they're on the streets because all it takes is one bump in the road, man, and you're off it. You guys are great, man. And are we cut yet?
Yeah, let's
cut so I can talk normal.
All right, bye guys.
All right, Rob, have a great day. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. All right, let's unpack that.
Wow, that was a neat conversation. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was cool to see how Rob has been using his lived experience and channeling that into creating an organization that really sounds like it's helping a lot of people.
It was a neat conversation. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was cool to see how Rob has been using his lived experience and channeling that into creating an organization that really sounds like it's helping a lot of people.
Yeah, I really liked what he had to say about, because I think one thing that comes up from just the everyday person is that the Band-Aid fixes. And there's I was thinking about my wife for this, and I think that I've done a lot of things over the years that have been more the temporary, and this is a really good long-term solution of he's really seeing people through and all the individual things. But when it comes to allocation of resources, it's a really pragmatic way of looking at it, of focusing the attention on the people that are ready for it. It's what they want. It's their decision. And it's not trying to invest time and resources for somebody that's not ready. And that's everybody's prerogative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the combination of all of the resources that kind of the facets that need to work together. And that, it's not just housing. It's not just education. It's not just rehabilitation, it's everything working together. And I really liked what he said, the point he made about having housing opportunities lined up immediately after treatment services.
Yes. Yeah. But got to do the forecasting. Can't just go straight from, especially his point was reacclimating people post incarceration. And it's not just you're out and then got it all figured out. Have to have tackle from a bunch of different fronts and make sure that they're ready with those next steps. Yeah, I don't know how these organizations like to rely exclusively on private funding, and he's the only full-time person to rely solely on the hours and the volunteering of others. Like that dude has so much energy, and he's 7 days a week available on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what a good human being.
Yeah, super cool guy. Hopefully we'll get to talk to him again.
Yeah,
definitely. All right, well, you guys have a good Saturday. We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
bye, awesome.
Bye,
guys.
Thanks for listening to Unpacking Homelessness. This episode was produced and edited by us. Our theme song is by Eric Lawson. You can find more of his music at soundcloud.com/eelaws. If you or someone you know would like to contribute to our show, Get in touch with us at unpackinghomelessness@gmail.com. Until next time.